Hello students, welcome for your physics class, and today we are going to start with the first topic of 9th standard Maharashtra State Board, and the name of the topic is laws of motion. So we are starting with chapter number 1, okay, and the name of the topic is laws of motion. Now my dear students, well, if you realize what is the name of the topic, it is laws of motion. So before we can actually start learning about the laws of motion, we need to first be clear with the term motion. So the first question what we should understand is that what is motion, isn't it? What is motion? So students, to understand this, let us be very clear with one simple terminology, that this term motion, okay, the term motion means what? It means movement. Okay, what does it mean? It means movement. Okay, now how do we understand whether an object is moving or not? Well, it's a very simple understanding. When we talk about an object, okay, it is placed at a certain point. Okay, let us say here we have a box which is kept. Okay, now there is a certain understanding that, let us say, this is point A and this is point B. So relatively we see that the box is currently near to point A and far from point B. If it starts moving, that means if it comes into motion, okay, let us say from A to B, okay, the box comes here. Okay, the box comes here. So that means with respect to its surroundings, it has changed its position. This was its initial position. Let me name it as Pi. And this is its final position. Let me name it as Pf. So now what we have understood here precisely, we have understood that the position with respect to the surroundings has changed. Earlier this box was close to A, now this box is more close to B, and of course far from point A, isn't it? So this is what is motion. So my dear students, if I have to define motion, what is motion? Motion is when a body changes its position with respect to its surroundings. We say that the body is in motion. Please write it down. What is motion? When an object or a body changes its position with respect to its surroundings, it is said to be in motion. Now, my dear students, if you say this is motion, then can I ask you, what do you mean by the term rest? Well, yes, I'm sure that many of you would have understood this by now, that if something is not in motion, okay, if something is not in motion, then we will say that the body is at rest. So when a body is not in motion, okay, when a body is not in motion, we say that the body is at rest. So again, if I have to define rest, how can I define rest? When an object or a body does not change its position with respect to its surroundings, we say that the body is at rest. So I hope you are understanding the meaning of motion and rest. Motion का मतलब surrounding change हो रहा है, rest का मतलब position with respect to surroundings change नहीं हो रहा है. All right, I'm sure that you are clear with this thought process. अगर पोजीशन चेंज हुआ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू सराउंडिंग्स तो फिर मोशन, अगर पोजीशन चेंज नहीं हुआ विद रिस्पेक्ट टू सराउंडिंग्स तो फिर हम यूज क्या करेंगे? रेस्ट. रेस्ट का मतलब द बॉडी इज नॉट इन मोशन. आई होप दिस इज वेरी क्लियर. ओके, नाउ इफ वी हैव अंडरस्टूड दिस, let us come to one more understanding. Okay, let us say there is 3 people set up. Okay, there is this A, this B, and then there is this C. Okay, now let us say this A and B, okay, they are into this moving bus. Okay, and C is standing here, okay, at a stop, a bus stop. Okay, so now when this C observes A and B, or let us say he observes A. Okay, now the bus starts moving. Okay, the bus starts moving. So what does C perceives? C says A is in motion. So with respect to C, I would say A is in motion, right? But if I talk about B and A, they are relatively sitting in front of each other. Okay, so if I talk from B's point of view, A is at rest. A is not moving at all. Well, what does this mean? This means that the same body which is in motion for C, is it at motion for B? No. So can I conclude that the same body can be in motion for one observer and can be at the same time can be at rest for another observer? Yes, my dear students. So from here we conclude one small thing. Okay, we make a small note. Notice that motion is a relative concept. What do you understand by the relative concept meaning? It means that actual में motion और rest जो है वो हम define नहीं कर रहे, वो define किया जा रहा है from the observer point of view. Observer से relate करता है, observer बताएगा कि एक body move कर रही है या फिर वो rest पे है. So that is why we say that motion is a relative concept, and it simply means that a body or an object can be in motion for one observer and at the same time the same body or the same object is at rest for another observer. I hope this example is very, very clear to you. So by now I'm sure that you have understood what is motion, what is rest, and what is meant by the statement that motion is a relative concept. Okay, if we have understood so far, then let me just come one step more closer towards your topic. Well, to understand the concept of motion or rest, whatever. Okay, so to understand, basically rest means not in motion. तो हम लोग study क्या करते हैं? Motion को, है ना? That is the topic name is laws of motion. So basically to understand motion more better, we will make use of certain physical quantities. I hope you understand the term physical quantities. They are such quantities which helps us in understanding the concepts which are there in physics. All right. In a technical term, I can say that something which is measurable. Okay, अगर हम किसी चीज को measure कर सकते हैं, quantify कर सकते हैं, तो फिर हम उसे क्या बोलते हैं? Physical quantity. Okay. Now, one thing which you have to be clear by now, okay, at 9th standard level, कि जब हम फिजिकल क्वांटिटी की बात करते हैं, ठीक है, बहुत सारी अलग अलग फिजिकल क्वांटिटीज हो सकती हैं. जैसे मैंने बताया, कोई भी चीज जो हम मेजर कर सकते हैं उसे हम क्या बोलेंगे? फिजिकल क्वांटिटी. तो लेट अस से मास. व्हाट इज मास? मास इज डिनोटेड बाय लेटर m. ओके, mass is a physical quantity. Force, what is force? Force is also a physical quantity which is denoted by capital F. अब अगर मैं मास और फोर्स की बात करूं तो what is the definition of mass? Mass is nothing but the total quantity of matter contained in a body, whereas force is an act of push or pull. ध्यान से समझो, दोनों भी फिजिकल क्वांटिटीज हैं, दोनों को हम मेजर कर सकते हैं. ठीक है, जब हम किसी भी चीज को मेजर करते हैं तो जिस तरह से हम उसको लिखते हैं उसका तरीका होता है एक नंबर और यूनिट. ओके, जिसे हम बोलते हैं मैग्नीट्यूड. तो एनीथिंग व्हिच इज मेजरेबल will have, beta what? It will have magnitude. So both of them have magnitude. That is telling me more or less. जैसे for example अगर मैं बोलूँगा force, तो मैं बोलूँगा force कितना है? ठीक है, तो मैं बोल सकता हूँ 10 न्यूटन का force है. ये क्या है? उसका magnitude. मास कितना है किसी चीज का? लेट अस से 10 kg. तो 10 kg is my magnitude, which tells me how much it is. Okay, 10 ग्राम बोलूंगा तो अलग फीलिंग आएगा, है ना? तो मैग्नीट्यूड तो देखो बेटा सबके पास है, लेकिन फोर्स क्या है? फोर्स इज एन एक्ट ऑफ पुश और पुल. मतलब यहां पर कितना फोर्स लगाना है वो एक बात है, बट साथ साथ में हमने क्या डिफाइन किया? हमने बोला इट इज एन एक्ट ऑफ पुश और पुल. That means force along with magnitude, it also has direction sense. This is one difference between mass and force. So mass can be completely expressed with magnitude alone, whereas force is incomplete without telling its direction. So it needs magnitude as well as direction. So बेटा जो फिजिकल क्वांटिटी के पास सिर्फ और सिर्फ मैग्नीट्यूड होता है, ऐसी फिजिकल क्वांटिटीज को हमने एक नाम दिया, हमने इनको बोला दे आर स्केलर क्वांटिटीज। और ऐसी क्वांटिटीज जिनके पास मैग्नीट्यूड के साथ डायरेक्शन आया, उनको हमने बोला यू आर वेक्टर क्वांटिटी। तो वेक्टर और स्केलर में मेजर डिफरेंस जो है 9th स्टैंडर्ड के स्टूडेंट्स की मैं बात कर रहा हूं, उनको क्या पता होना चाहिए कि एक फिजिकल क्वांटिटी के पास मैग्नीट्यूड है सिर्फ, और उसको हम पूरा समझ पा रहे हैं। इफ a physical quantity can be expressed with the help of magnitude alone, we call it as a scalar. However, if a physical quantity is explained with the help of magnitude as well as direction, that means it is incomplete without direction, then we call it as vector quantity. Okay, so we will use some kind of physical quantities to understand the concept of motion in little bit of detail. Let us come to the first physical quantity which we are talking about. The first thing what we need to understand, the term distance. Okay, how we understand the term distance. So for that, let us understand one small thing. Let us say this is point A. Okay, let us name it. This is home. Okay, and at some other place on this board, let me say here. Okay, or let me just come here a little bit closer. Okay, here this is point B. Okay, let me call it as a park, right? If I'll say school, you will say vacations are on, right? Okay, so let me say there is point A, which is home. Now if we are in home, we can also say that this is my initial position again. So I can say this is my initial position, and if I have to come from home to the park, then this park will be my फाइनल पोजीशन। जो मैंने यहाँ पे लिखा था पी आई और पी एफ, वही लिख रहा हूं पी आई और पी एफ। ओके, अब मान लो हम घर से निकले, ठीक है, हमें पार्क आना था, तो हमें पता है भाई पार्क आने का कुछ रास्ता इस तरह से है, हम आ गए यहाँ पे पार्क। ये क्या हुआ, ये हमारा एक पाथ हुआ, दिस इज वन ऑफ द पाथ, लेट अस से दिस इज पाथ नंबर 1, हाउ वी कैन कम फ्रॉम आवर होम टू दिस पर्टिकुलर पार्क। So there is some actual path which we have to walk, follow to reach from one point to another point, isn't it guys? Likewise, हो सकता है यहाँ पे कुछ रास्ते में प्रॉब्लम हो, ट्रैफिक हो, रास्ता जैम हो, कुछ भी, तो हम क्या करते हैं, तो कोई और रास्ता भी हो सकता है। Let us say there was one more route. Of course, it was a little longer route, but it reaches to the same park. We can go with that route as well. Okay, so this is nothing but our second path. I can say this is also the distance between park and home. Okay, and earlier also this was the distance between the park and home. Likewise, I can say that there can be another distance from home to park, which is like from here. Okay, it reaches the same park. Okay, it reaches the same park after going from one point to another point. So this is my third route. Okay, this is my third route to the same park, right? I can use any of those, but do you understand that currently the first one sounds better because it looks smaller when I am reaching from home to park, isn't it guys? But do you understand that none of them are the shortest way of reaching to park? Well, what will be the ideal shortest route to the park? Neglect everything. And if I have to say that how can I reach the park in the shortest method, how it will be? Well, I'm sure that a lot of you would have guessed it correctly. It will be in the form of a straight line from home to park. It will be in the straight line from home to park, right? This is our fourth distance, which is an ideal distance, but because of the construction and other obstacles, this is not always available. But the fact check is that if I take 2 points, initial and the final, the shortest path, the shortest route from the initial to the final point, my dear students, will be always in the form of straight line. So here I am trying to make you understand the distance. What is the distance here? This is distance 1, 2, 3 and 4. Okay, so whatever actual path the body will travel to reach from home to park, from A to B, from initial to the final position, the actual path which the body is following, we will call it as distance, my dear students. I hope distance का मतलब क्या होता है वो तुम्हें समझ में आ गया. Distance का मतलब होता है actual path. Distance का मतलब क्या होता है? Actual path followed by the body. Okay, but इन सारे actual path में ये जो fourth वाला है ये खास है, ये shortest है, right? So I can say one of the four, which is the fourth one, is the shortest distance from initial position to final position. Isn't it, guys? Shortest distance जो है from initial to final, हमने इसका एक नया नाम रख दिया. हमने इसको बोला कि भाई इस शॉर्टेस्ट डिस्टेंस को हम आज के बाद बुलाएंगे डिस्प्लेसमेंट. ओके, क्या बुलाएंगे इसको हम? डिस्प्लेसमेंट बुलाएंगे. ओके, तो डिस्प्लेसमेंट जो है वो क्या हो गया? डिस्प्लेसमेंट इज नथिंग बट द शॉर्टेस्ट डिस्टेंस. डिस्टेंस को हम थोड़ी देर के लिए डिनोट कर देते हैं डी से और डिस्प्लेसमेंट को हम डिनोट कर लेते हैं एस से. ऑलराइट गाइस, ठीक है. तो डिस्प्लेसमेंट जो है वो क्या है? शॉर्टेस्ट डिस्टेंस है. मतलब समझ में आ रहा है? डिस्प्लेसमेंट कुछ और नहीं है बट इट इज द शॉर्टेस्ट डिस्टेंस. तो कैन आई से दैट पॉइंट नंबर 1 व्हाट वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड हियर, दैट डिस्प्लेसमेंट इज ऑलवेज द डिस्टेंस, बट डिस्टेंस में नॉट ऑलवेज बी द डिस्प्लेसमेंट. है ना? ये भी तो डिस्टेंस है. क्या ये डिस्प्लेसमेंट है? नहीं. क्या ये डिस्प्लेसमेंट है? नहीं. क्या ये डिस्प्लेसमेंट है? नहीं. लेकिन ये जो है ये डिस्प्लेसमेंट है. बट क्या ये डिस्प्लेसमेंट डिस्टेंस है? ऑफ कोर्स, बिकॉज उसके डेफिनेशन में ही है शॉर्टेस्ट डिस्टेंस. तो प्लीज मेक अ नोट ऑफ दिस स्टेटमेंट. Displacement is always the distance, but distance may not always be the displacement. What is distance? It is the actual path traveled by the body from one point to another or from initial position to the final position, whereas displacement is the shortest distance between the initial position and final position. I hope you have made a note of this. Otherwise, hear it again and make a note of it. All right. समझ में आई बात? अब दोनों का जो SI यूनिट होगा बेटा, दोनों का भी जो SI यूनिट होगा वो तो सेम ही होगा, because ultimately displacement is also the shortest distance. The distance is measured in terms of length, right? So what is the SI unit? The SI unit is meter, okay, which is given as small m in terms of unit. Okay, it is meter. Okay, also can be given as kilometer. It can be given with a bigger scale like the commercial level. Okay, then we will call it as kilometer. Okay, now we need to understand one more small thing. Okay, there is another CGS unit. Okay, what is the CGS unit? It is nothing but centimeter, which is given as cm. Okay, this is the CGS unit. What I said earlier was the commercial. Okay, in commercial terms we will see later, okay, what does this exactly means, but in terms of the commercial unit, okay, we write it as kilometer. Okay, where kilo is one of the suffix, here centi is one of the suffix, right? So this is kilometer. Okay, let us understand some more things before I end this session today. Then we come back to this commercial later when we use it. Okay, what is the conversion sake and all that stuff, we will do it at the end. But for now, we have understood what is the meaning of distance and display. I hope guys you are understanding. Okay, anything you don't, you please let me know. Okay, now we have understood what is distance and displacement, right? Shortest distance. So if I say again, what is the statement? Distance will always be displacement, false. Displacement will always be distance, true. Now let us understand one small thing here. Okay, we take an example here. Okay, and I ask you some things, I'll ask you some questions. Okay, let me make a small track here. Okay, I hope the track is visible to you. Okay, and I mark some points here. Okay, I mark some points here. Let us say this is point A, and this is here is point B, and here this is point C, and then here this is point D. Okay, the midpoints of AB is E, the midpoint of CD is F. Okay, and here I have a car. Okay, all right, it also has a window. Okay, now it also has wheels, of course, don't ask such questions. Okay, now let us say that here A to B is 100 meters. Okay, so understand that whatever is AB, this is equal to CD also. Okay, and B to C, which is also equal to A to D. Okay, let us say that is 50 meters. Okay, now my question to you is, I will give you some path here. Okay, and you have to keep on telling me the distance and displacement. Okay, so here I will be writing the name of the path. Here you will tell me the distance, and here you will tell me the displacement. Okay, we'll take a couple of examples here. Okay, so let us say the first one. Okay, the first one is, what is the path traveled by the body from E to F? Now E to F, सोचो कितना होगा? पॉज करो और सोचो ये डेटा है, कितना होगा? आई होप तुम लोगों ने कर लिया होगा ये कैलकुलेशन. सो जो डिस्टेंस ट्रैवल्ड होगा, देखो AB का मिड पॉइंट क्या है बेटा? E. तो AB अगर 100 है तो EB कितना होगा? उसका आधा, मतलब 50 मीटर. तो यहां से लेके यहां तक 50 मीटर, B से लेके C तक फिर से 50 मीटर, और C से F दोबारा कितना होगा? 50 मीटर. मतलब टोटल डिस्टेंस यहाँ पे जो ट्रैवल किया वो है 150 मीटर. बट अगर रियलिटी में देखा जाए डिस्प्लेसमेंट के पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू से, तो अल्टीमेटली ये उसका इनिशियल पोजीशन था और ये उसका फाइनल पोजीशन था. मतलब बॉडी तो यहां से यहां तक ही आई, E से F तक, which is nothing but equal to BC, or it is equal to AD. What is that value? 50 meters. तो यहाँ पे इसका डिस्प्लेसमेंट कितना होगा? 50 meters. आई होप तुम लोगों ने सही गेस किया, नहीं तो आई होप अब समझ में आ गया होगा कि कैसे हमने डिस्टेंस फाइंड किया, कैसे हमने डिस्प्लेसमेंट फाइंड किया. एक और क्वेश्चन यहाँ पे लेते हैं. Let us find the distance and displacement. Okay, the questions are of distance and displacement. Tell me what will be the distance and displacement from E to B. E to B अभी मैंने बताया 50 meter will be its distance, and also 50 meter will be its displacement. तो E से F या E से B तक बॉडी का जो डिस्प्लेसमेंट है, देखो वो सेम हो रहा है कि नहीं? तो डिस्प्लेसमेंट एक बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है. ठीक है, एक और क्वेश्चन करते हैं. अच्छा ये बताओ कि मान लो ये बॉडी E से शुरू हुई और फिर E पे आके रुक गई. अब टोटल कितना चला? देखो E से F हाफ वे था, तो E से हाफ वे F तक अगर 150 चली, तो पूरा ये सर्किट कंप्लीट करने के लिए how much will it move? It will move 300 meter. What is the displacement in this case? What is the displacement here in this case? Well, I hope you guys have guessed it. If not, the displacement here is 0 meter because its initial position and the final position is the same. That means from displacement point of view ये body तो displace ही नहीं हुई भाई, जहां पे थी वहीं पे घूम फिर के आ गई, but distance 0 नहीं हुआ क्योंकि E से E तक आने के लिए इसे ये पूरा ट्रैक कंप्लीट करना पड़ा. तो distance traveled by the body 300 meters, whereas the displacement in the body, if the body returns to its initial or the start point, the displacement is 0. ये सब keywords हैं, ध्यान रखना that if the initial position and the final position is same, the displacement of the body is 0. Another important point here, we see that when the body is moving in the linear motion, translatory motion from one point to another, its distance is equal to its displacement. Now please understand, don't get confused. If it is going from E to B, okay, and then coming back from B to E, here it is moving 100 meters, but again its displacement is 0 meters. So here may it appear that it is straight line, but I am saying straight line from one point to another, not coming back, because the moment it comes back, you see, I have to break it. So it's not displacement, because यहाँ पर EB में initial position E था, final position B था, B में initial position B हो गया और final position E हो गया, तो यहाँ पे displacement break हो गया. Are you getting it? This point is very clear to you. ठीक है, तो जो straight line path में चल रहा होगा, जहाँ पे कोई twist turn नहीं होगा, वहाँ पे तुम्हारा distance और displacement का जो value है वो same आ जाएगा. Few more points to go before I end this session today. We are almost done. I hope you're understanding and enjoying this session. Well, if you see the values of distance, I understand that distance is either greater or equal to displacement, whereas displacement is either small or equal to distance. Displacement can never be greater than distance. यहाँ पे भी समझ में आ रहा है और यहाँ पे भी देखो समझ में आना चाहिए. It is the shortest distance. तो डिस्प्लेसमेंट अगर शॉर्टेस्ट डिस्टेंस है तो वो कभी भी एक्चुअल डिस्टेंस से बड़ा हो ही नहीं सकता. ये सारे पॉइंट्स ट्रू और फॉल्स, फिल इन द ब्लैंक्स, गिव साइंटिफिक रीजंस में आते हैं बेटा. ठीक है, तो आई होप ये बात समझ में आती है कि अगर मैं इनको सेग्रीगेट करूं, ठीक है, तो मुझे ये भी समझ में आता है कि ये जो डिस्प्लेसमेंट है इसमें ये डायरेक्शन सेंस है फ्रॉम इनिशियल टू फाइनल पॉइंट. तो ये जो डिस्प्लेसमेंट है बेटा ये क्या हो गया है, एक वेक्टर क्वांटिटी, वेर ये जो डिस्टेंस है ये एक्चुअल पाथ से इसका मतलब है, डायरेक्शन से कोई मतलब नहीं है, तो ये क्या हो गया है, एक स्केलर क्वांटिटी. तो अगर मैं बोलूं डिस्टिंग्विश बिटवीन डिस्टेंस एंड डिस्प्लेसमेंट, पॉइंट नंबर 1, देयर डेफिनेशंस. Actual path traveled by the body is called as distance traveled by the body. The shortest distance between initial and the final position is called as displacement. Distance is a scalar quantity, whereas displacement is a vector quantity. And my dear students, last point, distance can be either equal or greater than displacement. Displacement will always be a smaller value or equal to that of distance. 3 points for each, 3 marks, okay. Half of marks you get for each of the points you write for distance as well as for displacement. If it is 2 marks, you can use any of the 2 points out of these 3. So, well, I have explained you the concept of distance and displacement, and I hope that you understand the concept of distance and displacement. Okay, and last but not the least, the conversion factor which comes. Okay, the conversion from SI unit to CGS unit. So 1 meter is equal to 100 centimeter and 1 kilometer is equal to 1000 meter. I hope it is clear to you. So, well, make a note of these conversions, okay, and we will discuss more about it in the next session. Go through it, revise it. Any doubts, any questions, feel free to get in touch and ask your questions, a lot of questions. Till the time we are not very clear with it. With that, I, Aman, sign off for today's session. Hope that you guys enjoyed. Take care until we meet next.